Hey everyone, welcome back into the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast with Matt and Brian. We appreciate you being with us, and we got some pretty good stuff for you here today. But first of all, I want to get a couple things out of the way here. Hey, if you're looking for a great tournament, weekend tournament, whatever it is, Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com, go to their website, check out what they've got there. They got a lot of great tournaments coming up this summer, not only here in Missouri, but in Illinois, Tennessee. I'm not quite sure on a couple others. We'll be getting them back on the show here later in the just before spring and talk to them a little bit about that. But game7.com, they do a great job. Dave and Dave, appreciate you guys. Also, we want to let you know, again, we're in the Red Earth Production Studios. REP, they do a great job with brand marketing, content creation. If you need any of those things, please give us a call. 636-400-3199. Appreciate you doing that. So with that all out of the way, we're going to get to some baseball, Matt.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Hey, folks, we've got some good stuff coming up. We're talking rankings. Matt and I decided when we started doing this, we wanted to do some rankings because we want to look at baseball teams from this standpoint. But we're only doing 13 and 14U, right?
That is correct. Only 13, 14.
And why did we decide that, Matt?
Well, like we stated last time, 12 and under, I think for one, it's very difficult to rank 12, 11, 10-year-old kids.
Right.
13, 14 is when I would say it starts to get a little more serious for the kids, and that's when the top tier kids actually start to get recruited.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed.
Especially down south, and you get into, Southern California, you get down into the Floridas, those kids, 100%. And then actually, where we're at, St. Louis actually has a kid which we'll talk about later, that is verbally committed, and he is on a 14U team. So that's why we did it.
Right.
And we keep it fun at 12, 11, 10.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need it's so hard to rank teams in general at 13, 14, but to rank 12 and 11, it's almost impossible.
And
to be fair to everybody.
Exactly. And to be honest, folks, we are looking only at AAA major teams, correct?
Correct.
We understand there is a huge amount of good quality AA teams and some probably good AA teams that could beat a AAA team, right?
Yep. Like we discussed last time. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day.
Right. It's baseball. But we understand that many of these teams that are ranking at a AAA or major level are looking at it from the standpoint of they have those kids. Now, to be sure, and we talked about this, Justin and I talked about this, there are some coaches, and I don't mean this in a negative, it's just a fact. I think there are coaches that get blinded by the AAA or major label and probably overreach. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, and then I would say there's actually some that underreach, so to speak.
So you're looking at it from both sides.
I see both sides. You get, we call those people trophy hunters, where they don't belong in AA, but they play in AA just so they can win. And I don't think that's fair either.
Right.
Play the level you're at and, let the kids compete, have some fun, and that's how you learn to get better.
And, that's where we've talked about this. Matt and I have talked about this. I think he brought it up last time. That's when the tournament directors get involved. That's where these tournament companies get involved because they're paying attention to that stuff, aren't they?
Well, yeah, I think early in the year, it's, okay, you're claiming to be AA or you're claiming to be AAA, and then you get in a couple tournaments, and it's that heart-to-heart phone call of, all right, I think you need to move one way or the other. You've played in 2 of our tournaments. You haven't lost a game. You've mercied everybody. Why are you in AA?
Right.
Or you haven't won a game. Do you want to stay here or do you want to drop down? Now, if you're losing and you're losing by a few runs here and there and, a couple breaks, then, they might want to stay just because, hey, we're competing. We're just not finishing the job.
Right, right. And I think these are all factors involved. So, when you're talking, as Matt said, I think about rankings at even the 13, 14U age level, there's a lot of subjectivity to it, to be sure. But overall, that's why we're looking strictly at AAA major, looking at that kind of thought process. So we want to be clear so everybody has an understanding of how we're doing this and what we're talking about.
There's just too many teams. There's too many teams to do AA across the state of Missouri, much less some of these people are doing it across every state.
Yeah.
To do AAA and AA and major. We don't have, if you're game 7 and you're going based off points, or you're AAA, you're going based off points, that's easy because the system just does it for themselves based on how many events you're playing with them.
Correct.
Which we're not doing that.
No, we're looking at teams. So let's kick this off. What's the first team we want to look at, Matt?
Well, we're going at 14U. Mm-hmm. So 14U, we're going to highlight just a few teams. There's a lot of teams at 14U. Just like there's a lot of teams at 13U, but the one we're starting with is the St. Louis Dynamite Black. There's two teams. There's a Dynamite Black and a Dynamite Red.
Yeah.
Black is, at least it has been labeled as their major team. Mm-hmm. St. Louis team, good
Dave
players.
Hartman's their coach.
Yes, they had a kid that just Gavin Richards. Mm-hmm. He just verbally committed to Oklahoma. And
kudos to him. Yeah.
And they have a couple other players that probably are not far behind him.
Riker Benz is one.
In regards to getting committed.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think out of the gate, we haven't ranked anybody yet, but it's pretty safe to say that walking into a 14U season, when you have a verbal D1 commit on your roster and probably two more that can probably commit to, they're going to be right up there.
Yeah. And listen, he's right. We just make sure we're highlighting some teams. We haven't come out with our top 10 at this point. So we're looking at these teams and this is what we're highlighting. But I'm going to say they're number one.
I don't know how they're not. Is there anybody else in the state of Missouri that has a team like that?
Well, and to your point,
the only way that I see them not being preseason number one is if there's an off-season injury to two of the three guys.
Right.
Not just one.
I agree.
I think they need two guys.
Yeah, I agree.
That would have to get injured.
Because I know in the Southwest, there's some good teams down there. But we don't know enough about Kansas City yet. We're still working on that.
It's interesting because the 21-13U group, there's a lot of good Kansas City teams that we know about. Mm-hmm. The 21-14U group, there's not nearly as many.
Right.
At least that we know about, which is why we're admitting that we don't know and we're getting information and we're finding out. So exactly. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, this Kansas City team is going to be legit. I have no idea. There's a couple that we know of.
Right.
But other than that, this age group, it's very St. Louis heavy, I would say.
I agree.
In regards to the top tier group of teams.
I agree. And hopefully we'll find out. We're going to find out more about the Kansas City teams. But I agree with Matt. I think it is. I think
13U is very Kansas City heavy.
Yes, I agree.
But I think 14U is very St. Louis heavy.
So, okay.
But that's a good team.
Yep. So let's talk about one in the middle of the state, one that probably doesn't get a lot of pub, but a really good baseball team, and that's the Mo Astros.
Yeah, you've seen them play.
I have.
Garrett Taylor's their head coach.
Uh-huh.
I've only seen them play twice, and the times that I saw them play, they won both games. They were very good games, and they beat actually very good teams. It was actually Game 7 World Nationals is what they call it now.
Yeah.
They beat Naturals, and they beat the Gamers Gray.
Yep.
They were a good team. I haven't seen them. I just see the record. I see how they compare on other games, but I haven't seen them otherwise. But I've heard good things about them.
We're talking in the state of Missouri. They also went over to the Perfect Game tournament there, the Show Me Games in Columbia, and won that. Beat 3 very good Missouri teams and 1 team out of Colorado for the championship. So and they put a pretty good beat down on the team from Colorado. Now, I don't know anything about the team from Colorado, but if you're traveling that far, you're coming to play to win, right? In a perfect game tournament.
Yeah.
So, and I saw them at 13U, I saw them at 12U, and they've been very, very good. So, hopefully we can kind of, we're going to get a little bit more information about some of the players and be looking to see who's going where, what that looks like. But I think the Mo Astros are definitely a top 10 team in this state. Definitely.
Yeah. I guess we'll find out, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think we don't know where they're going to be, but I think they're in the top 10. That's what I got. Who's next?
So one of the other teams we're looking at is a team that you're actually familiar with. It's the St. Genevieve River Dogs.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know as much about them as you do.
They're a AAA squad. We've got the St. Genevieve River Dogs coming up on our winter workout tour. We did the tour stop. We were down there. It's a good group of kids. They're one of those teams, it's one of those teams I don't think they just have these top tier kids. You're going to see a lot of these kids going to Division II, Division III schools.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No. But they're solid across. They play good fundamental baseball. They're going to compete every weekend. They're going to come in, and they're going to win some games just because they go in and compete hard. And they do have a level of talent that if these kids are working hard, they're putting together good teams, good solid teamwork. They got some great kids down there. It was really fun to watch how many the players from the past teams are coming back and working with these younger kids. I mean, there was 5 college dudes that were former St. Genevieve River Dogs back for their camp working with these kids. I thought it was great, man.
No, it's always good whenever you've got people in your program coming back and giving back and training and helping with training. The team in general, they play a good schedule.
Yep.
They play a hard schedule. I don't know where they're going to end up whenever everything's said and done, but you have to give kudos to them for saying, hey, we're AAA, we're playing AAA.
Yeah.
We'll take our bumps and we'll give some bumps, so to speak.
And in watching what they've done over the past few years and where they've gone and where they go and play, they don't back away from anybody. They will go. And even it was funny because the coach, and I think this is a tough thing with some of these teams in this place. One of the things they said is we had to get the kids to kind of look past the name on the jersey. And I think that's sometimes tough for some of those clubs. They come into a tournament and they see prospects, they see gamers.
Right.
And then it's like, well, do we belong? And it's learning how to win at that level. And I think this is where some of these level teams got to come in and say, we can compete. How do we compete? And putting that. So it'll be interesting to watch the St. Gen River Dogs this year and see where they're at in that mix. I'm not quite sure if they're top 10 yet. We'll see.
Well, the next one is the Rawlings Tigers Jaworski. They're always at the top. They play a lot of good talent. They have a lot of good talent. They play against a lot of teams that are very talented. Mm-hmm. And I think that is one that I'm curious to see how they are and what they look like. But they're going to be good. They're going to be good. They've played all the teams that we talk about. A lot of the teams that we'll discuss later on, they've played against.
Yep.
And fared well. Won some, lost some. But that's everybody, right? That's the game. You don't want to go forward,
Right. Exactly.
So,
they've always played good competition. They're right there with they're playing in that level of the gamers Gators. Last year, just looking at their Game 7 record, and I'm just looking at that. I'm sure they've been to other tournaments. They were 11-4, and they weren't playing, they were playing good quality competition, other major.
Yeah, they're 2-2 against the majors and 6-1 against AAAs. So
that, to me,
played some
shows
14U.
that they are a legit major team within the state of Missouri, as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, I would agree.
It would be interesting to see what that translates to on a regional level.
Well, I guess we'll find out because I don't know what their schedule is, but
there's one of my favorite. Now, this I got to tell you, man, because last year it was 2 years ago, and I got to come back to this because in YBM I've done this because I think it's just cool, and there are certain squads out there that just have killer names. Okay,
all right.
And they played one of these teams, and they are a good club. They're a good, solid club up out of Chicago. You ever heard of the Midwest Mafia?
I have, actually.
They're in my top 10 of youth baseball team names. How do you not like that name?
Well, how are they?
They're good. They and I'm looking at some of the schedule here. The Rawlings Tigers played them in this particular contest. Now, you don't know who pitched, you don't know some of those things, but the Mafia beat them 9-1. So, you're looking at regional stuff and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that translates regionally in that respect.
Well, and then the team that I think you know more about than I do is the Midwest Mavericks.
Yes, out of Springfield, Missouri. That club, it's a smaller club. It's kind of like on that St. Gen River Dogs kind of
that and they're
field.
Competing down there with Marucci now.
Yeah.
Which is hard.
Which, you're looking at the Midwest Nationals, 417.
Yeah, they merged and then a couple other ones.
And then, they pulled a couple of smaller groups in. And just here's a great segue. I'm going to take this and throw a good plunge in there. Both of those groups, the Midwest Mavericks and the Marucci Club, are on our tour stop. We're going to be going down to see them actually next week. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, you'll know a lot more about them after that.
Yeah. So we're going to be down there this Saturday talking to those groups. And the winter tour is coming out in March, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, we get to talk to both of those clubs.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're gonna learn a lot this weekend about the Midwest Mavericks, the Marucci club down there, and what those groups are going to be like. I've seen the Mavericks play in other Game 7 tournaments. I've seen them down at Ballparks of America. They compete well. They're it's the same type of thought process that I put with the St. John River Dogs. Is that level of talent is right? They have good talent, but they work hard. They put teams together in that fundamental way. Go out, make plays, scrap hard, compete every play, and I think that to me is a great testament to some of these smaller clubs, because it's easy for some of these clubs just to go out and recruit some big kids and put some players on those teams because it is the Gamers, because it is, the Pirates and that kind of thing, right? Yep. But it's another to take and develop some of these kids in these that you're in some of these smaller areas and taking these kids and developing, working and doing. Not that the other clubs don't develop kids. That's not what I mean. But you're talking about a differentiation of talent.
Well, yeah. And, I'm curious to see what comes about whenever you go down there, what you find out. But just so people know, we're trying to broaden across the state, so we're not just stating, okay, here are 5 teams out of St. Louis. Now, there are other teams in St. Louis.
Yes.
And, a couple teams in Kansas City. I'm curious to see the Kansas City teams and what we find out, like the Blue Sox in Kansas City, some teams in St. Louis that are still going to be good prospects, Gamers, Premier. I'm curious about Premier.
Yep.
I know they had a couple kids that their grade was a year up, but they were young enough to play. I don't know if they're coming back. We'll find out all that. Naturals have a couple good teams.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they got good, solid clubs.
But yeah, you've got the Bandits, the Force, the Gators. I mean, there's a lot of really, really good talent.
And with you, it's like you talk about the Gators and the Bandits. Sereno's had that club for quite a while together.
Yeah, he's had them for a few years. Yeah, he's added some good talent.
And Burke's had his group for a while. So these are teams that are right there. They've played a lot together. And I think at this age level, that can really make an impact is if they come together, if they've been playing for the last 3 or 4 years together, that 14U could be that next step.
Well, and this is also, 14U, you're going 60-90 now.
Right.
So the pitching's going to be drastically different. Some of the kids are going to be 6'2". Some of the kids are going to be 5'2". You know what I mean?
That's a fact.
It's just, and the smaller and slower kids have a hard time at 14U, but then a lot of those kids then hit a growth spurt, and then it's like they're a different person at 15U.
Right. Or even 16U, right?
Yeah, it's development. It's honestly, it's development not only for the top kids, but even the kids that haven't fully developed yet that are late bloomers. Because a lot of the kids and I go back to the kid that's verbally committed to Oklahoma. A lot of the kids that get developed early, you kind of see, okay, they're still going to develop more. Where do we see them projecting at 17, 18 years old? Okay, he's already good now. You keep working. And this doesn't mean they can't pull that scholarship.
Right.
Offer. Because he can't sign until he's 18. But it's just 14U, it's just so the ages and the kids, and it's just so weird seeing a kid that's 6'2" and then a kid that's 5'2". But it's out there. But most of these teams that are good have those type of kids that have already developed. And you look, it's always interesting to see where kids are at 14U and then follow them until 17. And a lot of the kids that are really good at 14U by the time they're 17 either didn't make grades, so they just said, screw it, I'm not going to play.
Right.
Or they were so good at 14U that they just stopped working.
Yeah.
And everybody that was below them was working 10 times harder. Well, you're here, everybody else is moving up.
They're catching
and
up.
they're going to pass you up.
Right.
It's the ones that are up here that are continuing to work to keep going up, while the other ones are still working to come up. You could stay up here.
It's a quote I've heard from the great Satchel Paige. He said, never look back. Keep moving forward because they might be gaining on you.
It's true. You have to think you're working hard, but there's thousands of people that are working just as hard, if not harder.
Yeah.
And that's how you got to look at it.
There you go.
But it's going to be a fun age. 14U is a fun age.
There's a lot of good baseball teams at this age.
Well, but think of the kids playing high school baseball that are still going to play on their 14U team. So a team that may look decent in March, April, beginning of May, beginning to mid-May when the 15U are done and they come back.
Yeah.
You're adding that to your roster. It changes the dynamic for the back half of the season.
And that's why I think a lot of those teams, if you got that kid that's on that bubble playing freshman ball, you put him on that 15U team because that disrupts your 14U team quite a bit when they can't play anymore. It just does.
But most of the kids that play at that, they go back down to 14U. That's all they've always played there.
Right.
So they're comfortable there. They know the kids there, and they want to stay.
Yeah.
So, but it's going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. Hey, guys, thanks for joining us today on YBMcast with Matt and Brian. We hope that you've enjoyed this segment. We're looking forward to bringing these rankings to you, and going to have a lot of fun. Keep an eye on that Youth Baseball Midwest. If you want to follow us on Facebook, Youth Baseball Midwest. hit the subscribe button right now. Hit the dinger so you get all your notifications for upcoming broadcasts, upcoming shows. We're going to be talking more about this. We're going to be bringing our rankings, I'll spit that out in a minute, onto our Facebook platform there, and keep everybody informed of what we got going on. So remember, all you pitchers, keep throwing strikes. You hitters,
hit them where they ain't.
there you go. Everybody have a great day in the Lord, and we'll see you next time.